Good morning, Sonder family. Happy Monday. It's so good to see you. Happy Martin Luther King Jr. Day. I'm glad that we have a bunch of you being able to join us, some for the very first time on a Monday morning. It's really good to see you. I'm Jennifer Ogilvy. I get to be your on-camera facilitator. I'm usually here most Mondays. This is our Monday morning group is, a steadfast group. The weekend groups kind of change depending on what your schedule is and what the schedules of those socials are. But the Monday morning is like this staple of the week. And so we've got lots of returning folks who are here. And then, and you're Nicole saying she's out of school today. That's right. You're my neighbor. I forgot that, Nicole. Rowlett is right next to Garland, where I live. Anyway, we're so good to see you. And because it's been a 3-day weekend, we have a little treat this morning. The fabulous Maya Martin Glenn is also on the call, and she's gonna pop on. She's giving you a wave, and she's hunkering down today in chilly Colorado. She'll be hanging out in the chat. So if you have any questions along the way, you could drop them in the chat. Make sure your chat is set to everyone. That's how we communicate with one another at these socials. Yeah, we're just ready to get going. Y'all, I found this graphic and I loved it because this week we are going to hit January 22nd, and that means today we've almost made it through the 10 darkest weeks of the year. And we are starting to see things the days are getting a little bit longer. Anyway, you pat yourself on the back for those, surviving those darker days. I do love that sunshine. Now I'm personally enjoying the cool weather because we haven't had a lot of it in the Dallas, Texas area. And I actually went outside, and my lantana, which is a beautiful summer bloomer, there were the little leaves coming up from the base, and I was like, go back, it's not time yet, we haven't had February. But yeah, we've survived that season of wintering, and it's going to start lightening up as we start thinking about springtime. So give yourself a pat on the back for surviving all those dark days. I will invite you to look at your currently page 39, and maybe share something in the chat as you have done that check-in. If you haven't done that I sort of use this as a mid-month check-in. Some of you like to use this as a weekly check-in, and you kind of use each one of those lines as a check-in point, but maybe you'll share something off of that. What are you reading? What are you watching? What are you planning? And share that for one another because we get inspired from each other, especially those books and those shows that, need to pull our attention. My husband and I just binged A Man on the Inside season 2. It's got Ted Danson, and we love it. It kind of talks about, it's the life of folks who are in their second chapter of life. Yes, there's a season 2, Allison, and it's just delightful. And his love interest is his real wife in real life. So I love that. And also, let's read through this poem. 30 days has September, April, June, and November, unless a leap year is its fate. February has 28. And all the rest have 3 days more, except January, which has 6,184. So you may be thinking, whew, this has been a January. And if it has, my friends, we are slowly gonna get to the end of that, and we can jump in and look forward to a new month. So anyhow, I thought that was kind of fun. So there are community guidelines. Is there anybody here for the very first time? I'm watching all your titles that you're sharing in the chat. Thank you for sharing those titles. We share these community guidelines and we guide together when we gather together. So there's that. You can look over those. please remember that, if you have some product and accessory questions, it's fine to ask, but we're not going to get into a lot of detail. That's a great great reason to go visit our Sonder Club and drop those kinds of questions in there. Also, if you ever have, you're needing some support and we always say, come as you are. Um, to these socials, but if you ever feel like you need a little extra loving from the Sonder family, I'm going to ask you maybe go to the Sonder club and maybe put that. I could use some information on XYZ. We're walking a journey. Does anybody have experience with that? Feel free to share your email there, and then folks can maybe reach out that way. But yeah, we just love this community. So quick, yeah, and oh my gosh, yeah, the football is great. Tonight is the college football playoffs. I won't say who I'm gonna go for because I don't want to. My team's not there, but looking forward to like the last college game of the year. I always hate when it goes away. So lots going on in this little wintering season. But we are talking about alignment this month, and that's been kind of an interesting thing. We always love, like, when we look at the past themes that we've had and how sometimes they have just paved the way for the next theme, and we're growing and growing. And alignment, I think, hitting in January with that idea of a new year, new starts. This year I'm going to get it right or whatever. I think that was this such a good theme for taking a look at our life. We changed the calendar from December 31st to January 1st, and it was still us, still us. And anyhow, so I've put this. This is the little graphic I'm using all month. The energy that we want to bring into this year is doing what feels genuinely right in our intuition, and then letting go of the things that don't feel right. And I felt like that was such a good commentary for looking at alignment in our life. Our morning looks like this. We're going to start with a mind map. If you are here for the first time, that is that deeper dig into the theme, and this is the bonus prop you get for coming to our weekly setup. Also, I want to point out in the chat, take a look right now. Maya is kind of talking about the Pen Pal program that's become kind of her baby. She started creating a database for folks who might want to exchange snail mail. What a beautiful thing to do in this day and age of everything electronic. It's in AI, and instead we're going to switch back to a slower pace, use our HI, as she says, our human intelligence, and we're actually going to write letters to one another. So if you're interested in that, grab that little link so that you can add your name to as someone who might be interested in doing the pen pal. And Maya, thank you for bringing the community together like that. Yes, it is such a kindness for sure, Radhika, that she's kind of keeping that. That's a little side thing for her. She decided to do that. And we're all grateful for that connection. After our mind map, we're going to do our rosebud thorn reflection for the week, and then we'll do our setup pages. And I have, some examples from y'all to share with each other this morning. So, we have been talking about this theme of alignment and, really looking for the glow up. Many of you were at Mayha's Glow Up social this past Thursday, and we're looking at, what happens when outside actions that we do, how we're living our life, match the inside truth of our souls, that alignment. So we are on week 3. Now, if you haven't done it, you don't have to catch up and don't panic. But you can take a screenshot of like all 3 questions, or just go grab this social later. It's being recorded, or there are several other socials that you can access on the YouTube channel. Maya will be sharing that link, and you can look at week 1 and you can look at week 2. So we always have those resources for you. So this is week 3. Here are our 3 weeks. worth of questions, and my video just slagged, so I'm hoping we're not going to have any any issues. I hope that didn't disturb y'all too much. But week one was looking at our core connections, and what the things that make us feel like our true selves, and then also the things that kind of pull us out of alignment. And then last week, we looked at our habit harmony and just kind of the things that we're doing. And then we looked at our habits and really took a close look and kind of had picked one, two that we could just scrape away because they weren't serving us. And if you were here last week, you recalled one of my habits was pulled from my bedtime routine, which is horrible. I'm a terrible nighttime routine person. But I had put get in bed by 10:30, and not necessarily asleep, but in bed, like everything was wrapped up, and phone down at 10:30. And when I looked at those two things, I saw this misalignment. My phone needs to go down. It really made me think about, my phone needs to go down before I get in bed. That 10:30 syncing up time was not good. And that was my scraper habit, the one I got rid of. But this week, we are doing an energy audit. And so we're going to start thinking about the people, projects, and places that receive all of your energy. And this could be a really long list. You may be doing this on an extra piece of paper. We're going to draw a star to the ones that provide that glow up, that really help us feel alignment, and then a circle around the things where we need to set firmer boundaries. And I'll go back to that first slide in case you needed to grab a screenshot of that. But today's question is here in the upper left. And I have this graphic of things, things that are energy givers for most people. So that might inspire your list as your brain is waking up this morning. My mind map is there on the bottom left. And when I did my energy audit, this was the beginning of it. I've actually added some more things to it. But some of the things that I realize really give me that glow up and that feeling of purpose and alignment in my life, spending time with my grandkids and the family, my hobbies, anytime I can find my flow through quilting and sewing. So they got stars. But I noticed, I'm in a philanthropic group. And so the PEO, it's called PEO, and I've got the people, but I've also got this leadership role. And I drew a circle around that leadership role because there are times when I'm managing a lot of minutia that I feel that other people could figure out on their own. And so I'm going to do my best to work toward that. So that's the kind of direction I'm taking that in. But you might not get this prompt finished up this morning, but you can definitely start that list. And then as you go about your day and your week, you may add to it, like I did later, and then really pay attention to the things that bring you that glow up, or the things where you might need to put in some tougher boundaries, or stronger boundaries. I'm excited to hear what you have to say in the chat. So feel free to share what comes up for you, because it may also make somebody else go, oh my gosh, yes, me too. Or if you see something that someone else has shared and you've had experience, you could speak to that. Here's what I did because this wasn't in alignment for me, and this worked for me, and that can support one another. So we'll work on this for a little bit, and then we'll get going with the rest of our setup. Alrighty. You may still be working on this. This may be something that you sort of, I always say, marinate on for the rest of the week as you're going through. I always think of those energy givers as the way that we find our flow. And so when you find your flow, that is when you are in, like, you don't know what time it is. You've lost track of time. You're just in your groove. So, anyway, um, yeah, so thank you for sharing that. Oh, Joyce, I know that you know about PEO. That's pretty cool. Anyway, think about that. If other things pop up and drop that in the chat as we're going about this morning, because this group is such a good resource for support. But yeah, think about really concentrating on how you can work in those things that you put stars on a weekly basis. Like how does that look? Like if you love, to knit, but you only get to sit down once a month to do it, think about how you can carve in moments throughout your weeks so that you have those little bits of things that bring you that glow up and makes you feel, aligned. I know somebody said, I love to read, but I just don't have time. And this was some other social that we had, and somebody said, I always carry a book with me, always. And so that way, no matter where, they can even sneak in. If they're sitting in a traffic jam and nobody's going anywhere, they can sneak in, 5 minutes of reading. And that's how they became a person who could get a lot of books done under their belt. They just always, always, always had a book with them. Instead of, yeah, your Kindle goes everywhere with you, Michelle. So you can always pull it out. You never know what life is going to bring on a day. And so, yeah, or keep a little project, in your work bag or your purse. So, I love that. Thank you for sharing that. So now I'm going to invite you to turn to page 44, which is our rosebud thorn reflection over this past week. And that is, I always say, that is our lesson in gratitude. I'm making sure it is page 40. Making sure it is page 44. It is our lesson in gratitude, even through the hardships. So the thorns are always those things that didn't go well, that you wish maybe didn't happen, or they're just hanging out with you. And um, perhaps it's something that's going to turn into a bud for you. For me, it's just, we've gotten all our new bills, and the cost of health insurance is definitely a thorn for us. I'm not quite old enough for Medicare yet. My husband's been on Medicare for a year now, and that's been very helpful. But it's just a thorn. Now I got the new bill, and I'm just like, ah, and it's such bad insurance. What I have is such bad insurance, but I feel like I spend so much on insurance. I don't have a lot of money to go to the doctor, to actually go to the doctor. So that's my thorn. My bud within that is, I've got 2.5 years and I get to go on Medicare. So I guess I've never been so happy to age. And then my bud is the thing that could bloom literally for me is I ordered my tomato seeds. I'm a gardener, and they should be coming in by the end of the week, and I'll be getting the little seedlings started in my windowsill so that they'll be ready to put out in the spring. So literally, it's something that could bloom. But as you're looking at your bud, what is coming up for you that is exciting, that will bloom in your day? What's giving you that hope and that inspiration? And then finally, your rose. What went well last week? What are you so excited about? And something positive. And for me, we bought this house in COVID via the realtor walking around with a phone. We were still in Houston when we put money down on this house, and we had like a 20-minute window where we could visit it physically. We moved to be closer to my son. And we knew it had, the inspection report showed some icky things, but our back porch was literally a fault line, like a Dallas, Texas fault line, ran through it. It was not safe. It was just awful. And I found somebody who's young and hungry and starting a business, got a really good deal. And we've got a new back porch. And so we're safe. So we're excited about that. I'm going to put on a little bit of music while you share in the chat your roses, buds, and thorns. And let's just hold gratitude for everything the past week brought our way. I always appreciate y'all sharing with one another, letting each other kind of know what's going on. We celebrate all the roses. We've got, goodness, we've Amanda's got a big attorney appointment to try to get the workman's comp case going. And so, Amanda, we send you really, really good thoughts for that because that can be tricky. Oh, Meredith has the flu everywhere, everywhere. So sorry about that, Thorn. That's for sure a big old thorn. Within the chat, let's see. Nicole had asked for ideas for the one thing box. So as I'm talking, if y'all have some ways that you use your one thing box on that weekly spread, share in the chat. That might be a little inspirational, not only for Nicole, but other folks. But I am so glad that y'all shared with one another. And just remember you're never alone. You've got your Sonder family. So we're glad to be able to support each other as we move through those celebrations of life, but also the trickier things that the weeks may bring us. Thank you. Keep dropping those one things in the chat. Appreciate that, y'all. So now we're going to turn to pages 46 and 47, which is our setup for this week in January. And did y'all realize I had pointed this out before, but this is our 100th edition of Silk and Sonder. So I feel like you're holding like this milestone journal in your hands. So we are going to be working on week four of this year. Isn't that cool? Number 100. And you guys got to be a part of that history. So I had this little graphic up back to finding the peace and simple rhythms. Doesn't that sound like a good alignment support statement? And then we've got that fun graphic, how to actually achieve those New Year's resolutions. And there's a lot of really good little bits in there to rest, to let go of comparison, to celebrate your progress. Trixie had asked, she said, I feel like I'm a first grader because, like, I know the things to do. Like, she had lost some weight. I know what to do, but why won't I just do it consistently? So, accept that failure is part of growth, Trixie. That's what this graphic is telling us. Focus on the things that you can't control, let go of the what ifs. So, those are really good. I will tell you. Um, that that is from our Silk and Sonder Instagram account. Because and if you're not following that account, you should. It's got such good content on it. And what will happen is if you follow Silk and Sonder, I know a couple of people have said I don't have Instagram. You can go. We have a Facebook page for Silk and Sonder. If you're on Facebook, it doesn't get kind of the same type of traffic, but most of those same graphics will show up there if you want to go and grab those. So um, but following an account like the Silk and Sonder account will help that algorithm bring really good things to your social media feed, which is what we all need to do. We need to have this curated list. Maya always talks about how she's so happy that her list, her all the follows that show up for her, all the different things. It's because she's been so careful about curating what she is allowing to come into her phone. So, just that little pro tip there. So, I always like to do a couple of show and tells. And so, here are examples from y'all. And you can see, I loved this one. I think it might be Corey's on the left. Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, no tracking on that habit tracker. So just a really pretty piece of washi tape there. And I love those three goals: an analog activity. Let's get away from the digital. And that was for her mind. And then for body, a daily walk, and soul was meditation, and then has tied in the to-dos with those goals directly. So, how that's going to do. So, I love that. So, if you're struggling with the digital stuff, maybe start using that word analog as you are setting up habits and activities or setting goals for your week, and that you are very intentional with getting away from this and leaning into things that are not of this world, some analog activity. Um, you can see, we've got some tracking down on the right. There's not any goal set. They're just tracking those things that they wanted to do. And their three major goals section is kind of repurposed. And there are some check-offs for those things to happen. So like, they've got hope, they've got home, reading Atomic Habits with like four little spaces to check off. So they've given themselves all these little spaces worked in for all those different things to happen. I thought that was kind of neat. So I always just like to look at y'all's pages and see what you're doing. So let's think about now, starting with how do we want to feel this week? Now, I did suggest last week, if you're sitting here and you're not quite sure what you want this week to bring your way, maybe save this space and fill out everything else and then take a look at what's coming your way. And then you'll be ready to embrace the word or words or phrases to get you through this week. So you might want to wait But if you know what you're working on, the way you want to feel, maybe you're going to use your word of the year since it's kind of your new thing. And that goes in that space. Perhaps this little find your word of the week graphic will be inspirational. I look over, I'm seeing memorable, hopeful, wonderful, joyful, powered. Oh no, empowered. I might want to go look at the whole word. Grace. You might need to feel grace or productive. So perhaps some of those words are jumping out for you. Oh, you've got a yucky relationship, Michelle. Gross, gross, gross. Okay, we're going to send you lots of peace with for that. And if you wait just a second, Michelle, Maya will be able to drop a link to taking a little quiz to maybe inspire your word of the year. And you can go do that. So, as you're thinking about how you want to feel this week, let's look at those goals and those to-dos that are going to come our way. And you can some ideas for setting your goals is I always like to remind you to point yourself back. There's that link. If y'all haven't done the word of the year quiz, you could do that. Or you might want to just kind of sit with the looking at, what does the year bring in me and what are you going to need to feel? But I always like to point y'all back to the start, stop, and continue spaces on page 8, your intentions, and then, of course, that monthly habit tracker on page 11. So maybe go back and look at those and make sure that you are in alignment with what you said you wanted for this month. That's a really good inspiration for your goals and your to-dos. Always the idea of creating no goals. Remember, we were just talking about boundaries. Is there something from our mind map that you could say no to, put a boundary in? Perhaps that becomes one of your goals this week, really focusing on something like our theme of alignment. Or lots of folks will do the three words as kind of their categories, and then they plug a goal in for that. So we'll see some examples of that. But like mind, body, soul, and so you pick something for each one of those areas. Or frog, fun, fruitful. And the frog is the thing that eat the toad, eat the frog kind of mindset, the thing you don't want to do, but you really need to do. And then something fun, and then something fruitful. Something you're going to delete, something you're going to delegate, something you'll delight in. So you can set those types of frameworks up to plug in your goals. Let's take a look at how folks have done their setups. And we always ask our question, how are my goals going to support the way we want to feel for the week? And so here are some great examples. You can see the one in the middle did more of a bingo board instead of a goal, because it's kind of embracing the good mindset, good energy sticker that she's used for how she wants to feel. We got some more examples here. We've got, the one over there on the left, release, control, and then trust, resist trying to fix everything and keep my heart open, and then has written to those things. Here is an example of the three categories. We're going to learn something, we're going to lean into something, and we're going to let go of something. And then they've filled those goals out. And the one over there on the upper right has 4 things for their goal area. So they're going to create, consume, cavort, and commune. So maybe one of these will inspire what you do. And I'll go back through all these slides while you're working on these sections. So here are a couple of examples of setting the goals, and then your to-dos are pulled directly from those goals. Yeah, I love, Amber, I'm with you. I love a bingo board. There's always at least one in my weekly setup because there's just something about playing a game with life, and doing that. And then we're going to take those goals and maybe inform our to-dos directly, but also maybe it's just a standalone to-do list. And just that reminder that also on your to-do list should be some lovely things in your life, not just all the tasks and the productivity that you feel you need, needs to happen. This graphic almost didn't take this walk in the woods so that I could finish my to-do list. Make sure that you're including things like walks in the woods, going outside, looking at the sky, getting some deep breathing in there. So put some good things in that to-do list or somewhere else in your journal. I've got lots of examples for our next page as well. So putting some joy in there. Jennifer, sometimes we miss our weeks, and you may have weeks, but I always say this, y'all know, your blank pages also tell a story. And if you had some rough weeks, that's the data that you can get from those blank spaces. It's not that you didn't do it, it was just a different kind of week. So be sure that you're putting lots of grace in your own path and realizing, okay, those blank spaces, they're telling a story about what life was bringing me. Got some suggestions for getting organized in 2026. Here is really great to do, a need, want, and hope to do list. There's what it can look like if you choose to go in that direction. We always, always, always love to remind y'all about our Eisenhower matrix, the things this will help you prioritize the things that need to happen for you this week. And in that delete box or that drop box, it's always a good idea to maybe think about the things that you need to get rid of. Just like, one of the things that could go in this box for me was, that 10:30 in bed and 10:30 put the phone down. I need to put my phone down earlier, so that could be in my delete box. I need to delete that old habit. Sonia, thank you for shouting that out. She said, I went 4 months during my cancer journey without journaling. That wasn't time, but that was part of her story. So we're going to be filled with grace for ourselves. Here are some other ways of setting up the to-do list. And I'm kind of with this Eli gal down here at the bottom. Well, as if it isn't me writing all the things from last week's to-do list on this week's to-do list. Sometimes that happens. Also, it's okay to do something and go write it back down and then cross it off. The our to-dos. But maybe you need something like a to-be list, like you see down at the bottom middle, just that being chill with yourself and your to-bes. Here's another idea of what a to-be list could look like. This could really tie into that journal prompt that we did at the beginning as we looked at alignment. So I'm going to put on a little bit of music while you work on your goals and to-dos. Let us know what you'll be doing this week, where you need that support, how you're planning to do that. And then we'll go to our habits and activities, or as Maya calls them, the habities, if you're talking really fast. And then we'll get on with our second page. ladies, I love the support that I'm seeing for one another in the chat. Thank you so much for just being there to help one another kind of lean into this new week. We're going to drop down to the bottom of this page and talk about our habities, our habits, our activities for the week. Now, I love this one because it can be all the same things that you have on that big habit tracker that's at the front of your journal. But it can also just be things that are unique to this week, those habits, those activities that need to happen so that you are in alignment with those goals and those to do. So, either way, there's not a right way or a wrong way to do this. Speaking of the habit tracker, that big one, if you go back now and you're looking at it and something's not happening, give yourself permission mid-month to change that habit up. If you're looking at that big tracker and you're like, I was gonna read 20 minutes every day and I've done it one time, then maybe you need to do a different kind of habit. And it could be, I'm going to move my book to my bedside table, and kind of tweak that habit so that you do see it happen. Maybe it'll help you be inspired to read a little bit more. So James Clear says to establish a new habit, you got to show up. It needs to be something that takes less than 2 minutes. So don't bite off more than you can chew, in other words. And you can start with a gateway habit, which could look like this. You want to walk 10,000 steps a day. Then your habit is I put on my running shoes. That's what you're tracking. I put on my running shoes. If you want to keep the house tidy, your habit becomes put one item of dirty clothes in the laundry. Radica, one item. there's part of your laundry. Uh, be a better partner becomes I'm going to make my partner a cup of coffee every morning, right? Not this big over, just one small action. To get straight A's becomes I put my books out on the desk when I get home. I don't keep them in the backpack. I take them out. And so just that small little step. And then another great thing is to pair an established habit with the new habit that you want to do. And it could look something like this. After I brush my teeth, I will take my vitamins. So that's a really good way to set that up for success. We've got some great examples from Sonder family about setting goals. You don't have to set goals. You can just track. You can give yourself the week off. You can say a big nope to this. You can put washi tape on the days that you don't intend to track anything. You can see one of my older habit and activities is there on the bottom right, and I have paired activities together because I was forgetting to do my sunscreen. So my morning three became my teeth, my vitamins, my sunscreen, and then my night three became my teeth, my vitamins, and my moisturizer. So kind of the same things, but they're all paired together and they don't get checked off until I do all three. So that kind of helped me be accountable to that. This is an example from Gloria of really embracing the different chemicals that are good, happy chemicals, the dopamine, the oxytocin, the serotonin, and the endorphins. And she actually tried to spell out DOSE with her habits and activities. So for dopamine, she was doing creative time and completing tasks. And if she did that, she gave herself a D and tried to spell out that word dose every day, DOSE, and putting those things in place. Here's someone who is going to do the same idea with care. They're going to clean, they're going to be active, they're going to read, and they're going to express, they're going to journal. And their goal was to spell out that word care. So you can think of a word to track as you spell that. So she wants 7 days of spelling out care. Anyway, I think that's just kind of a fun way to do it. Someone else is using this space as a symptom tracker. And so they obviously were trying to embrace some health ideas. And so that bottom example there shows how that they're going to be tracking that all the symptoms they're having, and then a routine tracker is great for this space. Like you see that sleep routine there, and then there's some habits to inspire you. We'll put on just a spot of music. Let us know what you're tracking in this tracker this week, or if you're not using it at all. All right, I want to make sure I have plenty of time to share with you the page two, the B side of our setup this morning. Love what I'm seeing in the chat about, adjusting for the kind of week you're having. Holly says she's staying at a friend's house to care sit while that person's away. And so habits and activities are all very portable. So she's, changing things up to fit the week that she's having. That's a great call out for that. Let's go ahead and flip over to the next page. And what I'm going to show you are examples for all of these spaces. But what I love about this page, if you repurpose these spaces, they can, I'll show you some meal plan examples, but you may end up putting those things into your shopping list. Or the things that you'll see, the examples from the shopping list, you may choose to put in your mind, body, health. It might speak to those spaces. So this is just such a flexible space to repurpose, but you're also invited to use the pages just as they are. Here's a couple of examples of how folks have set their space up. We always love that. How do I feel and what do I need? Check in. That is such a good space for a morning check in or a midday check in or an evening check in. Or you may take three of the spaces in this journal and do that. How do I feel and what do I need? You may do that three times in a day. So it's all about taking what you need. You can see that someone's AM routine is in the shopping list. So really trying to shore up that morning routine. I usually put a bingo in the shopping list. Let's take a look at some meal plans. That's what it could look like as a meal plan or maybe a meal tracker. And then I've also got some ideas for those water droplets. There are 8 droplets there. There's kind of 8 hours in a workday. Perhaps you're doing an hourly check-in and you're using these water droplets for that. Someone else is going to use it to check in with their energy level. And then we've got medication and vitamin check-in. And so they're going to check in with themselves if they did their morning vitamins and their PM the medication. So they're kind of repurposing that. We've got some great examples here about repurposing those nice juicy spaces in the menu plan. And I'll go through all of these while you're working on them. Some more meal plans. We've got a chore list. I love the big four over there, the intention, the dinner, what they're embodying, and what they're going to accomplish. So they're using this idea for each one of those days. Someone else is going to do poems of my life, which I love. There's our mind body health plan coming up here. Lots of ways to use this. I call this the selfish space. This is where you put beautiful things for yourself. And there's 1 week of gratitude, a little reflection there. This here's a using alliteration. So Monday is Monday, move my body. Tuesday, tune out the noise. Wednesday, walk and water. So kind of just making it fun with alliteration. Oh, Joyce is using her meal plans to learn French. I love that. And then good reasons to put that phone down. So maybe somewhere this shows up for you if it's something you're working on. Some more ideas frameworks to set up what goes in these spaces, like a digital detox, a delete day, a donate day, a health day. So hopefully you'll be inspired by these. Here's some shopping lists that have been repurposed. A wardrobe tracker is a great thing. I used to track my wardrobe when I was a kindergarten teacher so that I didn't repeat because they would call me out on it. That was a long, long time ago before Silk and Sonder. I think Mayha was probably in second grade when when that happened. There's some weekly intentions and how someone has used that. We've got some more content from our Instagram page for you to be inspired, or Facebook. You can go find these on Facebook. And this is actually National Soup Month, and then that's a calendar of our National Day of. Today is National Popcorn Day, friends. So we might want to do that. And then finally, ask yourself, what are you loving right now? And drop that in the chat, but also be sure to share that. I'm going to put on a little music and go back through those slides in case there was something you wanted to catch an image of, and then we'll close our time together. right. I want to be sure that we are respecting your time for the day. This is always the fastest hour of our week. And just a reminder that this has been recorded. So it will probably be up in a matter of an hour. If you needed to grab anything else, Maya is sharing the link to that. We have some things coming up that you might be interested in, like the EFT tapping, which is you can go to Eventbrite and sign up for that exclusive. That's going to be on January 22nd. We would also like to see your setup in Sonder Club. That's where we pull these resources from y'all sharing with each other. Then we can take it to a bigger audience and it can live forever in the YouTube channel. So make sure that you share that. And then here is our playlist from this morning. Make it a great week, Sonder family. And join me tomorrow night to color or do another slow activity or hobby as we have our coloring social. I hope I see you there. And yeah, thanks for carving out this time for yourself this morning.